Hello and welcome to your Club Everton Daily. The date is Sunday, the 5th of February 2012. And yep, we are one day removed from the Wigan game. As someone on the forum pointed out, if you'd have offered us 4 points out of the matches between Man City and Wigan before the matches took place, we'd have chewed your arm off. Just trust us to do it in that order. Whoever that was, I'll give you credit. I still need to give credit to whoever it was who made that tweet as well. I'm a very forgetful person, as anyone who knows me will know full well. Right, well, anyway, what we're going to do on the daily today then? Well, we're going to round up the news. Our roundtable discussion topic is Tony Pulis seeking help from the PFA over play acting. We're going to have the gossip column. In the article of interest, we are looking at problems with the professional women's game in the US. Stay with me. Alright, so we'll get the shindig underway and we'll start with the news. Right then, so the first one, Victor Anichebe is targeting actually starting some games. He's set his sights on a regular starting place after his super sub use once again against Wigan, providing the equalising goal. He is becoming the impact sub. In all honesty, we've not really seen since Big Dunk was in the twilight of his Everton career. He's obviously not in a position to be starting games as much at the moment. Because he is still, you gotta remember, just coming back from a serious long-term injury. But I'm sure we'll do the right thing when it comes to Victor. As for David Moyes, he had this to say after the Wigan game. I don't think we deserve to go a goal down as we look comfortable. When they scored a bizarre goal, it was a complete fluke, but the boys did brilliantly to get back into it, especially after their efforts in midweek against Man City. I'm disappointed with not winning, but the pitch wasn't good today. For what the modern player normally plays on, they're not used to that kind of surface. But it was the same for both teams. When you lose a goal after it hits a big divot and bounces the other way, you just don't see that anymore. Because of that, we felt it was a bit of injustice, so I was pleased we scored. Anichebe's effort was his third after being introduced from the suspension in recent weeks, and Moyes said, "It was a good ball in by Baines. Thank goodness Victor stepped out and got his head on it because they were all queuing up. We needed someone to make a bit of movement, and he did." In the early part of the season, young Apostolos Velias came off the bench and scored a few goals. You never want the title super sub, but at different times of the season, you do want people who can make an impact. Of course, Stephen Pienaar made his second Everton debut, and here's what Moyes had to say on it. I thought Stephen Pienaar was the best player on the pitch today. At times, we just didn't have enough to cause some problems, but everything he did was really good. He was terrific, and he looks as if he hadn't been away. We just didn't have the bits to create off some of his good play. But all in all, it was a really good debut for him. I'll agree with that, to be fair, he played really well. And it's a toss-up between him and John Heitinga for man of the match. And who'd have thought I'd be saying that at the start of the season? Anyway, that's it for the news. I know there's not much for today, but the match is the main talking point, and we can't really discuss that until we get to the monthly podcast. Anyway, roundtable discussion topic. Stoke City boss Tony Pulis seeks PFA help to cut out play acting. He's urged Gordon Taylor to crack down on what he sees as play acting. He accused David Mailer of trying to get Robert Hoof sent off in Saturday's 1-0 loss to Sunderland. Excuse me. It's something I think Gordon Taylor and the PFA should really get to grips with, said the Stoke manager. The disappointing thing for me is, it's become more ingrained in the game, is the reaction of the player. Pulis suggested that he would appeal Hoof's dismissal at a snowy Britannia Stadium, which came on the brink of half-time, with the game still poised at 0-0. Of course, we can relate to the play acting, more specifically the case where Luis Suarez play acted to get Jack Rodwell sent off in the derby. Sunderland went on to secure the 3 points through James McLean's second half strike. Robert slides in, but actually doesn't touch the player, added Pulis. I think it's a disease that's coming into the game, where the players roll around and they're looking to see if they can get people booked or sent off. The game's difficult enough for the refs because of the pace and tempo at which it's played. Then you get situations where players are falling about and rolling around when they've not even been touched. Really and truthfully, the player is trying to get the player sent off. In contrast, Martin O'Neill said he's not surprised to see Hugh dismiss. Hugh. I haven't seen it back, but my initial view was that I thought it looked as if it was going to be a red. Given the new directives that referees have been given, I thought it looked that way, but I'm sure Tony will probably disagree. I've not seen it yet, to be fair, but you know, can't really slam someone for an injustice when we've been on the receiving end of that this year as well, so yeah. That's it for the round table. We'll move on to the gossip column. As always, the source and the story. And because it's the Sunday papers, I'm going to have to watch it. The Sunday Express reports that Cristiano Ronaldo wants to make a spectacular return to English football in the summer, alerting former club Man United, as well as Premier League rivals Chelsea and Man City. Sunday Mirror reports that Corinthians have revived their interest in bringing back unsettled Man City striker Carlos Tevez. Daily Star Sunday reports that Newcastle have targeted Crystal Palace right back Nathaniel Klein as a possible replacement for Danny Simpson, who's yet to agree a new contract at St James's Park. Metro reports that Daniele De Rossi is set to ignore interest from Man City and sign a new contract with Roma. Goal.com reports that Fulham manager Martin Jol says deadline day signing Pavel Progin could be prevented from making his debut next weekend because of work permit complications. Talkshite reports that Blackburn boss Steve Keane remains hopeful that he can resolve the uncertainty surrounding defender Chris Samber's future at the club. In other news, Sunday Mirror reports that John Terry plans to announce his international retirement after Euro 2012, even before the FA decided to remove the England captaincy from him, of course. The Racist on Sunday reports that former Man United and England defender Gary Neville has called on the FA to produce a clear set of rules regarding the sanctions England players might face if charged with criminal offences. Racist on Sunday also reports that Andre Villas-Boas insists that his team have more to play for this season than Sunday's opponents Man United. How does he make that one out? Anyway, Villas-Boas says he's not concerned by the former Fernando Torres, who's not scored in the Premier League since September. Sunday Mirror reports that Villas-Boas is still fighting to save his career, although claims that Blues owner Roman Abramovich will reinstate Jose Mourinho are well wide of the mark. Sunday Mirror reports that former Arsenal defender Stephen Bold is hot favourite to take over as Arsene Wenger's new assistant manager next season. Sunday Mirror reports that Everton's Stephen Pienaar, on loan from Tottenham, has warned the Londoners that big clubs will make further attempts to sign their prized playmaker Luka Modric in the summer. Talkshite reports that Norwich manager Paul Lambert insists that the club are not yet safe from relegation, despite securing an 8th win of the season with a 2-0 win over Bolton. Fucking hell. Sunderland's Danish international striker Nicholas Bentner could return to training wearing a protective mask following a broken nose and damage to his cheekbone against Swansea last month, according to the Newcastle Chronicle. Racist on Sunday believes that Joe Jordan, Tottenham coach, believes Andy Carroll is beginning to settle in at Liverpool following his high-profile £35 million move from Newcastle last year. Manchester Evening News reports that Sir Alex Ferguson is confident that goalkeeper David De Gea will prove his worth in the English game and says the Spaniard's mistakes are being highlighted because he plays for the current Premier League champions. Lancashire Telegraph reports that Burnley have confirmed that Centre of Excellence manager Vince Overson, the club's former defender who has been on gardening leave since November, has now formally left Turf Moor. And finally, and this is from the Metro and there's only one of them, Bayer Leverkusen striker Eren Deadrov suffered a freak injury when he knocked over the glass in which he keeps his toothbrush, then trod on a rogue shard and needed 7 stitches in his feet for a cut. Nasty. Alright, well that's it for the gossip column. Alright, and now we're going to finish off today's daily with the article of interest, and it is from when Saturday comes online, wsc.com, sorry, wsc.co.uk, for this and more great articles. The end of women's professional football in America? That's the question being asked. It's being asked by Brian Simpson. Women's Professional Soccer, WPS, the pinnacle of the women's football pyramid in America, announced it was suspending its 2012 season on Monday. The intention is to resume the league in 2013. The news had implications for both the American and Great Britain teams ahead of the 2012 Olympics, and in the longer term for the survival of professional women's football in the USA. The suspension comes as the cost of a lengthy legal battle with franchise owner Dan Borisow threatened to do irreparable harm to the league. Late in 2010, Borisow, a businessman in telecommunications, bought a majority stake in the Washington Freedom franchise. The club was renamed Magic Jack to promote Borisow's business interests and split its season between Washington and Southern Florida. The court papers filed by both parties involved in the dispute tells a tale of alleged rule breaches, including having a pitch that was too small, and unpaid debts, alongside unprofessional and disparaging treatment of players by Borisow. The league had argued that his behaviour contributed to Puma's decision to withdraw sponsorship for the 2012 season. The Magic Jack owner argues that he complied with the rules, insisting that the league statements are only allegations and lies. The colourful dispute wound its way through fines, suspensions, and then plans to terminate the franchisee's participation in the league. A compromise was struck to enable them to complete their fixtures, but the league took a final decision to terminate Magic Jack's membership in October. Nevertheless, the dispute continues, with Borisow arguing that the league failed to follow its own procedures in the termination, and the court case is set to run and run. There is an entertaining side to the dispute, of course. The dinner between Borisow and representatives of Puma that significantly backfired sounds a good story, but the decision to suspend the season could have significant implications. The history of women's football in America shows that success with the national side has had a huge impact on the public interest. An early attempt to establish a professional league in 2000 following victory in the 1999 World Cup. That league lasted until 2003. The day before the WPS announced the suspension of the season, the national team had qualified for the London Olympics. The potential for exposure appeared huge. The positive spin that the absence of league games will allow more time for preparation, but the extra training hardly takes the place of competitive action. The bigger implication is that it may prove impossible to reinstate the league after the break. The Wall Street Journal acknowledged the part played in the suspension by the Magic Jack dispute, but significantly noted that disappointing revenues were part of the background. Just as important is that the WPS's position at the top of the pyramid is dependent on its ability to grow its membership from the 5 teams that would have competed in 2012 to the 8 necessary to maintain its status. If a relaunch is to be successful, the legal dispute needs to be resolved and the raft of new sponsors need to come on board on the back of any Olympic success. Looking at the history of women's professional football in America, the Washington Post's Stephen Goff commented, 2 strikes and you're out? Possibly. Closer to home, 5 members of the Great Britain squad now find themselves without a club only 6 months before the Olympics. Striker Kelly Smith said she's devastated by the news, but she has attracted interest from other clubs. Smith added that America has always seemed the most likely place for a fully professional women's league to succeed. In that light, the longer term future might be semi-professional models adopted by leagues in Sweden, Germany and England. So, not very good signs for the women's professional game in America. Right, well that's it for today's daily. Thank you very much for listening. And before we let you go, we'll let you know how you can get in touch with us on social media. All the links are in the descriptions, both on the YouTube channel and on iTunes. We're on Facebook, Twitter and Google+. Also, go to our website, clubeverton.co.uk, to read some articles, blog posts and the like. You can also go to Club Everton Forum, clubeverton.co.uk/forums, to get involved in matchday discussion. Don't forget as well to nominate the Fallatonians for a Shorty Award. You only need 153 votes to overtake the Red Shite in the polls. So, if that's not an incentive to get voting, I don't know what is. Follow the link in the description and nominate @Fallatonians for a Shorty Award in #soccer. And finally, Club Everton Daily is brought to you by Hand Stores, the official travel partner of clubeverton.co.uk. Visit handstores.co.uk for more information or give Hand a ring on 077 521 21395. Alright, well that's it. Thank you very much for listening and we'll see you again tomorrow.